Thank you for watching this video. Here I am live in Bristol with Dr. Stephen Gilligan. We're just finishing the end of a beautiful hero's journey day of a wonderful group of people. The purpose of this interview is just to share something that Dr. Gilligan is going to be doing live here in Bristol in November. So I just thought, if you think about modeling and NLP and hypnosis, how it all began, you know, Steve was one of the few people that went down with Bandler and Grinder to model Erickson. You know, they caught Erickson, you know, as he was working with clients.
Oh, I modeled Erickson and then went out in a purple wheelchair to
I heard that part. So this is what we want to recreate, really, is working in live situations with old clients. Yeah. As opposed to you guys who are finally warm and tuned in, and you know, you don't give us any difficulties at all. You're just nice and, you know, come up and, you know, so we want to work with cold clients. Now, I did this a couple of years ago, John Grinder, and it's amazing because you see it from the beginning. Yeah. And then what we want to do is facilitate a process of you going into state while Steve's working with the cold clients, and then we model him. Yeah. And then you carry out the exercises based on the assimilations. Yeah. Now, we're in a very interesting conversation. I'm doing all the talking here. So we had a very interesting conversation this morning at breakfast, Steve. And I found it very, very interesting, in fact, about the sort of multiple identities that we are working in, where we now need to sort of jump from personality to personality within our own self. And you thought that was sort of the embodiment of modeling. Just wondered if you could elaborate on that, please.
Well, that word modeling, you know, it's one term. It's often can be helpful to think of what synonyms might be in terms of the contextual use of modeling. And I would say representing would be a close term. And you know, we're talking about these two mind brains. The deeper nonverbal brain doesn't represent anything. It presences it. It experiences it. But in order to act, and to act beyond the patterns of nature, which is what we humans do, we have to have a representation. I was mentioning today this notion that neuroscientists have arrived at, that we don't have direct access to the world or even to our own experience of our body,
what you said there today.
but we have brain images.
Yeah.
And so the brain image is telling us who we are and what the world is around us.
Yeah.
That would be an example of a model or representation. So what I hope to do in the workshop is see that when we're working to help a person resolve a problem or to go beyond their limitations, we have to model, we have to represent what kind of trance are you in that leads you to be depressed, of all the infinite possibilities. And if you could see that we could have the same stimulus for 50 people in the room, and you get the same damn response or the same damn experience every time. So it's not really, the problem is not out in the world, it's in your representation of the world. So to help a person go beyond that, we first have to model how are you representing the world so that you keep producing that same less than ideal response. That's one model. We call it the present state or the problem state. And as somebody was saying, we need to join that. We need to understand it. If we're going to have rapport with the person, we have to first talk within their patterns, their values, their way of knowing. So we have to join them from the interior
through modeling.
So we say, how are you modeling reality?
Exactly.
And then how do I take on that model? And be able to sort of join you. And so I basically more of you than more of myself.
Exactly. It's like a model within a model then, in a sense, as people are modeling you in this context, in your representations, which many are unconscious and maybe intuitive. They're modeling you, modeling the client to model the change.
That's right.
That's pretty good, eh?
Yeah.
That's nice. That's a trance, eh? To model him being and his intuitions, which are
But and it's not just intuition. You know, you're sort of the way that you're training yourself to see,
yeah,
to notice differences. Where you say, "Oh, they have an emotional identity connected to that word." I said freedom, and something inside. So I know that their model of the world, the term freedom, is one of the core parts.
mm.
Whereas the next client I work with, that likely is not going to be,
Yeah, highly unlikely.
yeah,
Unless they're modeling that client
yeah.
in his room.
So that's one model, but then you have to have a sense of if you're not happy with that model, what is the new model that you want to trade in for?
Yeah.
And so you have to have a sense of where do you want to be and what would that look like for you and what would that mean for you? And that is something that you have to have a constructed sense of. And then there's a sense of how do you join with this as a way of moving towards this? And knowing that as you move towards this, they're always going to go back at different times in their life to the old problematic model.
Yeah.
So it's not that you're erasing it. It's not that you're transcending it. Is you're including it and going beyond it.
Got it.
And you know that it's always just a matter of time before you go back to the old triggers. And so we have to build into the model that you're going to go back. There's no getting rid of your old patterns. So you have affection for them, and then you have a sense that when I go back to them, rather than oh shit, I nothing's changed. When am I ever going to learn? You're learning to take it as a red flag to I got to get back to some connection with myself. That's what the problem is telling me.
Got it.
So the modeling is really about how the client is modeling.
One part of the body.
One part, two parts really, where you want to be to have a sense of a rewarding life, and where you end up, what you say, what's happening, I'm not happy with.
It's actually very clear because I think it's in Frogs into Princes where Bandler all grinned to one of them because you never know. You have to try and read between the transcript who's talking. Is we're not functioning in the real world. We are functioning on different maps and models of the world, and we all have many different ones of those. But we're interested in modeling you as well and your maps and how you think and process. To get these amazing results. I mean, I've been working with you now, I think 19 years, and it's definite patterns. Even sort of in the variations, there's patterns, and this is what we really want to pick up is the patterning here and have a lot of fun. So you can imagine 50 Gilligans walking around. It's quite an interesting thought.
Well, just one other thing I would say is I was talking about Eugene Genlin, the guy that did the focusing, the felt sense. But he was first a philosopher, really good philosopher, and he really emphasized the distinction between us treating something as a sign or a symbol.
Yeah.
I was saying a sign means it's a single invariant meaning that's context insensitive. And they're important. So when you're driving your car, you come to a red light, you have to treat it as a sign, not
that's the problem I've got.
So you can't say
going wrong.
I can't speak for other people, but for me today, red light means go faster. That's just me. So you have to have these shared conservative common agreements.
I hear you.
Right. But in order to live creatively, you have to be able to regard it as a symbol, which he said is something that has multiple contradictory meanings, a number of which cannot be made explicit. And I think that's Erickson said, people come to see you because they're rigid.
Yeah.
They're treating something like you say no to me and I think, oh, I failed again, or you don't like me. That's one meaning.
Yeah.
And so if I want to make sure that you have choice and creativity, I find where those trigger points that you're reacting with one meaning, and upon that rock I shall build my trance.
Trance.
And I want to say, from this point, it opens and radiates into what Bateson called starfish logic.
Yeah.
And I think that's probably one of the major guides.
Yeah, I'd say so. So we could run another course called Jump in the Red Light, but we don't want to get too literal. Just before we finish here, just want to share a little bit about the DTIs that you did with Erickson, and if it really stood out with for you when you were in the world of Erickson.
Well, I think for me, the whole exposure to trance was, I mean, it was, I thought as a kid, I mean, I was like that as a kid.
Yeah.
You know, I described my granddaughter, this sense of this sort of just psychedelic world of neuroplasticity, where everything, you know, could open, this could open to that, could open to that. And then I thought, okay, to grow up, to be a responsible person, I can't do that anymore. I have to like be rigid and constipated. And um, and I thought that was what I had to do in order to be a mature, responsible adult. Erickson just blew
Fucking
that
brilliant.
map out of the water because he was just like every moment radiated infinitely in infinite direction. And he was so happy about it. And he was so creative being there. And I thought, that's it. That's what I want to be.
So that's what you got.
And that's what trance. So everything in trance is moving things from a fixed constant to a variable. How do you know you're in trance? You experience trance phenomena.
Mm.
So the way that you feel your body, I have many bodies.
Mm.
I could have my body over there. My body could be big. I could be over there. My body could be small. I could be like Gulliver's Travels. I could be in the Lilliputian world.
Gulliver's Travels. I haven't heard that for a long time.
But those are like tales about that,
Yeah, I
right?
love those Gulliver Travels.
Like he's like going into this world where everything's so big, or
Yeah.
this world, and that's what trance is. It makes everything plastic.
It's beautiful as well.
Everything in your phenomenological reality that you use to create life is plastic. It's fluid.
And totally natural, which I like about the trance. You don't need any.
Totally
Yeah,
natural.
beautiful.
That was Erickson's radical, like revisioning. It's not artificial.
Yeah.
The trance doesn't come from hypnotic suggestion.
Yeah.
It's coming from your own consciousness.
Exactly.
So what follows from that is my father used to throw me up against the wall and say, "Who the hell do you think you are?" And then I was a teenager. I would look into the mirror and say, "Who am I?" And I would wait until I could see there was some eyes looking back at me, and then I could see all my faces changing to 1,000 different faces.
Hero with 1,000 different faces.
Yeah,
Yeah.
basically,
Yeah.
that's it.
Yeah.
That's it. That's the idea.
Yeah.
Um,
That's the book that Campbell wrote.
and I felt like at home when I had that freedom.
That's beautiful.
That if I can, you know, we say you can be anybody you want. You can grow up. We try to give that message to our kids, but that's what we learn in trance. So, how do you learn that? Well, let me pick Michael and let me imagine I'm Michael, and to feel what it's like to be in the world with that. How about if there's something I really want to experience, like Erickson's hypnotic mastery? What would it be like in a trance to step inside of Erickson and to experience the world as Erickson? And from that, like for example, for Erickson, I just assumed from the way he wrote and the way we were trained to think about it, that he was the fastest gun in the West. He just thought really intelligently and really fast. And when I went into Deep Trance Identification with him, two things happened that I don't think I ever would have come upon intellectually. First, everything was totally quiet.
Mm.
Everything was quiet. He had no internal dialogue.
Beautiful.
And second, everybody was already in a trance. I didn't have to do anything. It was like just touch me.
Right in a trance, yes, excuse.
That came from the Deep Trance Identification.
Amazing.
And then to see that when I looked at somebody, I could see 1,000 faces. And then so somebody says, well, I'm depressed. I could see, well, that's one of yourselves, and there's much, much more. So how could we have a conversation so that you could feel that fluid Monet-like painting and feel that, yeah, I'm depressed, but I'm also this, and I'm that, and I'm that. Knowing that once I could feel that, that's okay that there's a presence of depression inside of me. It's not the only game in town.
Yeah.
So that's what I got from
That's amazing if you think about what Steve's referring to there, just to paraphrase that, is that, you can study somebody and observe them, from a from a third position, really. When you get an intellectual account of what they're doing. But Steve said, when he went right into Erickson, to be Erickson, act as if he's Erickson in a trance, he had no internal dialogue and everyone else is in a trance, yeah? Now, John Grinder, he said to me a different thing. He said to me that John Grinder coded the language of the Milton model, yeah, from transformational grammar. And he said to me, he probably would have got 60 to 70% of those patterns through observation. But he said he wouldn't have got 30% of them. And they were the phonological ambiguities. They were the very creative patterns, yeah? The phonological ambiguities in particular, and also the voice intonation changes, yeah, the different subtleties within the voice, the analog markings. He wouldn't have got, he said, had he not, now that's a different description from Steve, but he's still saying there's things that you get in this DTI, Deep Trance Identification, and I love doing this, that you don't get when you're studying the normal way because you become any other person. So this is just to come out, because I do appreciate it, this is on the 6th to 9th of November. Write that in your diary here in Bristol. We want to make it very, very special.